I'm Becky Dowd, and this is Journey to Salvation. Join me as we walk alongside real people and hear the unique journeys that led them to faith in Jesus. We are here today with my friend Zack, and hello, Zack.
Hello.
Zack and I got to know each other about 10 months ago. He moved to my hometown where he became a part of a recovery program. And we'll talk about that just a little bit more in a few minutes. But right now, Zack, would you just give us a little background information, where you grew up and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, first of all, my name is Zack Davis. I'm 46 years old. But I was born in Southern California, a small town called Victorville. And I was a product of a broken home. My parents divorced early when I was 5 years old, and I was raised by a single dad who struggled with alcoholism and did the best he could under all the circumstances he had. I had an average normal childhood and just, did everything according to plans, as a young man should. So really, there's nothing that stands out in my childhood that's abnormal compared to most people's.
Were you brought up in church?
No, my grandparents were Catholic, so I would occasionally go to church with them when I was visiting them on the weekend, but we were the Easter and Christmas kind of church family. We never went on a frequent basis.
Right. What about high school? What was high school and after, a few years after that, like for you?
High school was okay. I did 2 years of regular high school, and then I went to a continuation high school just because the hours were easier, the curriculum was easier. It was just an easy way out. I have several of my friends made the transition there, so I did as well. Not because I've got kicked out of school or anything, just because I saw it as an easy way out where I could work more. Because we were always financially struggled, so I needed a way to make money to buy a car and just do all the things that the kids around me were doing, because I grew up in a middle to upper class neighborhood and I was lower middle class, so I always had to provide for myself.
Right.
But I graduated on time with honors, actually a little bit early, so I did everything right with that.
So after that, you started working.
Yeah, I worked since I was 15.
Right. But tell us about what happened. You were what, 21?
Almost 22.
And tell us about that situation. What
I
happened there?
was at a job that I had, and my trade was construction, but it was off season. So in the off season, I would go work in warehouses as a forklift operator, and it was an average Monday. Everything was going well, and I went to lunch break. I ate my sandwich, my chips, of course, drank my drink, and that's all kind of irrelevant to what happened. But I just took a nap because I was tired being a young man. I had a busy weekend throughout the weekend, enjoying the luxuries of life, I guess, and the pleasures that you shouldn't be enjoying. I took a nap, and when I woke up, my vision was really distorted, and I would say that it's the beginning of when I started going visually impaired, where at this day I'm not blind, but I'm severely visually impaired where I have low vision. So it was just a matter of 45 minutes that changed my whole entire life. And I saw doctors after doctor after doctor, and nobody gave me a reason of why this was happening to me.
At that time, did you know Vanessa, your
No.
wife? When did you meet Vanessa?
When I was 24, almost 25.
Right. And Vanessa says that it was a long time before she knew that you couldn't see.
Because I had got some surgery that corrected my vision some, so I was able to drive again.
Yeah.
And I knew that my vision wasn't as good by no means than it was before everything happened. But as long as they gave me permission to drive, I would. So I was able to have a steady job. I had a car. I had my own house. I was doing well.
Right.
So, nobody really knew because it wasn't something that I said, oh. Yeah. I tried to keep it away from everybody's attention.
Right. So, Vanessa and you have a son.
Yes, ma'am. but he's not my biological son. I took him in when he was 6 months old.
Mm-hmm.
It was her son, and the dad kind of abandoned and left the situation.
Yeah.
And I felt a pull to claim him as my own and raise him.
Right. And his name is Jeremiah, and he's a fine young man. He's
Yes,
21 right
21,
now,
almost 22.
almost 22. And so at this time, you're living in California.
Yes, ma'am.
And at what point in your life that you sort of went from socially drinking to having a problem with drinking?
See, now you're Becky. I'm sorry too, but you're skipping a whole phase of other things I was doing before drinking.
Okay, well, go back and
I
tell me all
was,
that stuff.
yeah, I was, and I hate to, like you said, not to jump back, but
Yeah, go ahead.
it was when I was young and 17, 18 years old. There was an epidemic, I would say, not a pandemic, that was COVID, but there was an epidemic of methamphetamine that went through our county, our neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a taste for that. And I wasn't somebody who was out there stealing or robbing, but I did it more frequently than most people.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to still maintain jobs and do everything I was supposed to do, but I was using meth and constantly on a daily basis smoking marijuana. And when you're doing all those things, you kind of dabble in whatever else is in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
Alcohol was later on in life
Okay. So how long did the drug use continue for you?
until I came here,
Okay.
off and on.
Okay.
I was able to quit meth 20 years ago because when I made the decision to raise Jeremiah,
Mm-hmm.
I also made the decision to get meth out of my life because I've seen the toxic things that it done and I've seen how
Right.
families were brought up,
Right.
kids brought up, and just the adults who were on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that was no way to raise a child.
Right.
But I still dabbled if somebody had something else. And in my mind frame wasn't right that day, I may say yes.
Mm-hmm.
I may say no. It was just a day-by-day decision of what happened.
So you came to Wynn, the community we live in October of 24,
Yes, ma'am.
for the purpose of being a resident at the addiction recovery program that we have at our church. And the way that you even found out about it was through your aunt, Julie, who had moved to Wynn about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
And I can remember Julie's been part of my life group for the last several years, but I can remember Julie saying, "We need to pray for my nephew Zack," and she was telling me that you were an alcoholic, but you were blind, and I just couldn't really picture how a blind man could go to the liquor store and get alcohol to become an alcoholic. But I think you had some help along the way. You had people maybe take you there. Is that right?
And you know what? People, when you say blind, everybody pictures the world being black.
Yeah.
But I still have vision and central vision in one eye, which isn't great. My world isn't black. I have vision. My left eye is pretty much black where I don't see nothing but a little bit of light at the bottom. But my right eye is 2500 to 2600, which is enough to see you when I'm talking to you right now, Becky, and
Yeah.
enough to see the simple things. So when you get into a neighborhood and you get used to the environment you're in,
Right.
you learn how to navigate to the store on your own if you need be. You learn how to do,
Right.
if there's a will, there's a way. Let's just say that.
Right.
And when you're saying blind, it's not that I'm completely blind. I'm visually impaired.
Right. Well, and you have beat me at cards before, so I always tease you about that. And you seem to enjoy that you beat me at cards.
I
But
like beating you at anything.
okay, so let's talk about, and I don't know the order of these things, but one thing was you told me that you were baptized at one time.
Yes.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, and
Was that in California?
no, ma'am. in 2019, I went on a vacation to Idaho to visit my aunt, the one who
Right.
kind of gave me whispered in my ear about the program here.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a faithful Christian and just recommended while I was there that I get baptized. And I did it not knowing fully the meaning of what I was doing. I've always loved the Lord and I've always loved Jesus, but I had never surrendered to him at that point. But I went and got baptized. And that week was awesome that I spent on vacation. But when I went home, I went back to living in sin and doing everything opposite of what God would want me to do.
Right.
Although people say I was saved, I knew I truly was not saved at that point. I was just baptized. There's a difference if you ask me.
Yeah, because baptism is just a reflection or a symbol of what God has done in our life, right? Our salvation, but it doesn't save us.
No, it doesn't.
No, because at that point you had not surrendered your
Yeah.
life to the Lord.
If it was that easy, everybody would be baptized just to get a
Yeah,
free ticket to heaven, you
that's
know?
right. That's right. It's got to
It's,
be a change in heart.
yeah, you got to fully commit
Yeah.
to Jesus when you do it to make it count.
Okay, let's talk about. There's two different times you were hospitalized. One was here. We're going to talk about that second.
There's 3 times.
Okay, so tell me about those.
Well, in the end of October or the beginning of November, it's kind of a blur because at that point I didn't realize how sick I was, but I was drinking a real lot of alcohol, and it was always hard alcohol. It wasn't beers at that point anymore. A beer would maybe be if I was going to a family member's house
Mm-hmm.
to have something in my hand so I could kind of justify why I was acting as drunk as I was, with them not knowing that I had liquor in the car.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the alcohol started doing a lot of damage to my insides and caused internal bleeding. So I was losing blood, and I wasn't aware of it. I felt weak, and I was blaming it on other things, but I truly didn't know what was going on in my body. And there was a day where I was at my friend's house, and I was in my room where I slept, and I was skinnied up, and I could not even stand up to make it to the restroom. So I called him with my cell phone, even though he was just in the other room. And I kind of told him I needed help to find me to use the restroom in, get me a bucket or something because I can't move. And honestly, that's the last thing I remember from that day. The next thing you know, a couple weeks later, it was about 3 weeks later, I wake up in the hospital not knowing why I'm there, not knowing what's going on, and just utterly confused from everything that was all of the noises, the nurses, because I had been in a coma at that point. So when I woke up, I had a lot of activity from nurses and doctors coming in to check on me. So it was just confusion for my part because I had a ventilator and I was still on a breathing machine. So I was unable to express the questions of why am I here? What's going
Mm-hmm.
on? And it was just complete chaos at that time. And so it was about 3 weeks more. I stayed there. After about a week later, I was able to get off of the life support and get into a room in ICU. And then I just had to stabilize. And I was released from the hospital. And you would think, and this is something that everybody and I always ponder on, after being off of cigarettes and alcohol and everything for that long of a time, that surely you wouldn't go back knowing that that's almost what killed you.
Mm-hmm.
And I made it a few weeks and I did well. But then I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I put myself in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm not blaming anybody
Right.
for my actions. I knew what I was doing when I went to this person's house.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a drink, and it went well. I was able to have a few drinks and not get overly intoxicated and go home, and I didn't drink again for another week or so. But then I put myself in the wrong place again, and I did the same thing, but this time it didn't go as well. The next morning I woke up and said, oh, I'll just have one little drink. I kind of got a hangover.
Mm-hmm.
And then the cycle repeated itself. And it wasn't as bad because it wasn't daily. I was able to catch myself and stop, but it was more often than it should.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that time, my dad was in a nursing home because he had a traumatic brain injury, and he was in the hospital and not doing good. And he was in a nursing home, and I chose to go stay with him to help him out in any way I could when he got out of the hospital because I knew the people that was in his house. My stepmother wasn't going to be a good presence or a good person to help him out, making sure that he ate and taking care of his basic needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I was unaware to the fact that he was as well. So once again, I don't blame anybody, but that he had contracted scabies in the nursing home. So when I was at his house, they're highly contagious. I also contracted the scabies and I got a real bad case, so bad where they actually made it internal and attacked my kidneys.
Oh, wow.
Which enters round 2 to the hospital. I went to the hospital after going to the dermatologist. They said, well, you need to check yourself into the emergency room because this is something we hadn't seen before. And they didn't know that I was getting internally attacked by these scabies as well. They just knew the severity of it on my skin. There was more than they can do at that moment. And then here goes another blur. And I wake up after 2.5 weeks in a coma, medically induced this time, in a hospital in Las Vegas, which is about 3.5 hours away from where I initially went in. I went to a hospital in Victorville, which is, like I said, about 3.5 hours south of Las Vegas. Once again, with a breathing tube in and questions of how did I get here, what's going on. And I wouldn't per se this time that it was caused by alcohol. This one was more scabies, but my body, if I hadn't put it through all the trauma I had in the first encounter at the hospital, probably would have had a better chance of fighting everything off a little better. But I was still in the process of healing,
Right.
and still drinking periodically at that time.
Right.
So it was just, it was kind of induced by both the scabies and not taking care of myself correctly.
Right.
But at this time in Las Vegas, when I was in the coma, I kind of had a spiritual encounter, which some people believe me and some people don't. And you can form your own opinion as I tell this story. But I went on a journey, and it was started off really dark and really, really morbid and really just a bad thing, a bad place. And there was people attacking me, and it was just very unpleasant. And at the end, I was stuck in a dingy, dark cave, and the people there were just constantly attacking me and just doing physical harm. And it was just terrifying. Even though I was in a coma, I still felt like the pain was real and present in those moments. And I saw a figure, and the figure just seemed to be, it was in that room with me, in that dingy cave, and just started strumming a guitar and singing songs. And I can't tell you the song that he was playing, but when I started singing along with that man, who had the biggest, whitest beard you've ever seen, and I can't really give you a good description because I truly don't remember all of it in that vivid detail. But I quickly, after that, I was released from that cave, and I was in the most bluest, clearest skies I could ever sing, where everybody was on the streets rejoicing and just glorifying God, and just, it was a beautiful environment. But when I thought that, okay, this is it, I'm good now, everything's good, I kind of got pulled aside by, I don't know if it was a guardian angel or if it was one of God's workers, I don't know. But they kind of said, your journey's not complete yet. So I had to leave that beautiful place and kind of travel around. And it was just something that's hard to explain. But I just kept remember saying, I'm thirsty, I'm thirsty, I'm thirsty to this when I was on this journey. And we stopped by a river, and she scooped out a little cup of water from this river, and I took a drink. And that taste I'll remember for the rest of my life. It was just the most beautiful tasting water I ever had. And that day, when I was on that journey, I had a couple family members at the hospital with me.
Mm-hmm.
And they said I just had a tremendous turnaround. I was able to get off life support that day again. And I was able to have conversation. It was just a miraculous turnaround, just like that.
Wow.
And and it's something that people don't believe. And you know, when I was done on this journey through the spiritual realms and I was back into the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
I was still sedated and stuff. And you know, I just in my dreams, or I guess I would call these even just more visions, but it was the visions I was seeing of. I kept seeing Arkansas, and I've never been here. I had never been here, but I saw myself just, and it was I had smoothies, and I just saw it, and I saw joy in Arkansas,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't put no meaning to that. I just continued on my ways, and when I came out home from the hospital, you kind of try to reflect on everything that you've seen at those times and everything you went through on this
Mm-hmm.
spiritual journey. And I didn't understand the relevance of Arkansas in my dreams, and it was specifically Arkansas, Becky. And at this point, I hadn't even heard about the harbor.
Mm-hmm. What year was this that you were in the hospital
It was
during
in.
this time
It was right. Well, I mean, I got out of the hospital that time in April, and
of 24?
yes, ma'am. And it wasn't until about June of 24 when I called my aunt, and I played a song by Jelly Roll. It's the funniest thing. I played a song that I really liked, and I just wanted her opinion of it. And the song was Save Me, so I'm sure a lot of y'all have heard it.
Yeah.
And she called back and is like, is that a cry for help? And I was like, no, it's not. Oh, well, there's this program in Arkansas. It's called The Harbor. And she had texted me Dustin's number, and
Yeah.
I didn't pay no attention. I said, I don't need that. I was still in denial that I had a problem, or
Right.
just in denial that I needed the help that I was going to eventually get.
Right.
So I just laughed it off. But then I was thinking, well, let's just continue to move forward. On September 21st of 2004, I was at a wedding, and I was placed at table 11. And the significance of that, I don't know. But I know God put me there for a reason, because at that table, two of my aunts were there. And one not blood aunt, but it's been my uncle's sister, who is near and dear to my heart
Mm-hmm.
for my whole life. And one of my aunts, who is my dad's sister. And they were both telling me their stories of salvation, of how they found the Lord and found sobriety, and their testimonies of the journeys and the difficulties that it took to get to where they are. But one had 15 years sober, the other one 25. And it was emotional for me, because I was fresh out of the hospital again, not too fresh, but
Mm-hmm.
with a beer in my hand, and just people with concern, but not in a bashful way, Becky. It was just out of love, you know? It wasn't
Right.
like they were trying to scold me or yell at me or anything. They were just
Yeah.
telling me their stories.
Right.
And I think, once again, God was using them as a vessel to speak to me. So, I mean, tears were shed, and just emotions went through me tremendously at the wedding. And then I got my composure, and I enjoyed myself. I had a great time. And on the way home from that trip, it was my son and I. My wife didn't make that trip with us. In the car ride home, I told my son Jeremiah, who we mentioned earlier, I said, Jeremiah, I said, my life's going to change here really soon. And he said, what do you mean, Dad? And I said, I'm going to try to find a way to get help. I don't want to live like this anymore. And he said, well, what does that mean? And I said, I think it means Arkansas, Jeremiah. And I was buzzed. I wasn't highly intoxicated that night, but I had a good buzz. I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to sugarcoat that. But so I don't think he took it for fully what it was worth. But when I got home, I went home and I did get alcohol on the way home. I'm not going to lie, because at that point, that's when alcohol had a stronghold on me.
Right.
But I went to my room and my wife was in there watching a movie, and I said to Alexa, because we have the Alexa at home,
Yeah.
I said, Alexa, pause the movie. And she kind of questioned why I did that. And I told her that moment.
Vanessa or Alexa
I
questioned
told,
you?
no, Alexa just listened. She
Okay.
never questioned me much. But Vanessa questioned me of like, why are you doing this? What's going on? And I told her that I had made a decision that night to get help, and that I believed in my heart I was going to go to Arkansas, and that it was going to be soon. It wasn't going to be later. So the next morning I woke up and I called two places in California. One of them I couldn't get through to. They didn't answer the phone. And I left a message, but they never got back with me. And the other one answered, and they declined to take me because of my vision impairment, because they said I would be a liability, and they didn't want to take somebody like me because just of the liability,
Right.
the fear of the unknown. So my next call was to my Aunt Julie, and I said, can I get that number again that you had texted me priorly? And this time she sent a different number, and the name was Kurt. Kirk. And I'm thinking, oh, man. So I looked at my phone for about 30, 45 minutes, and I finally built up the nerve to make that phone call. And my first sentence from him is, I heard about your program, and I want to get help. And I don't remember his initial reaction, but then I said, my second statement is, but I want you to be aware that I'm visually impaired. I carry a red and white cane.
Mm-hmm.
My vision is pretty poor. If that's going to be a problem, I need to know now.
Mm-hmm.
And his answer was, well, do you truly want to get help? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, well, then come on. And he said it a lot more hillbilly than that. But if you knew Kirk, you would know what I'm saying.
Yes, absolutely.
But that day, by the end of that night, I had a plane ticket arranged to come to Wynne, Arkansas. And of course, there's no airports here in Wynne. So I initially flew into Nashville, and I stayed a night at my mom's house and just kind of prepared myself for what was next. And I had no clue what was next. I just never met anybody in this town besides my aunt. And I had no real outlook or any kind of ideas of what this was going to look like. I just knew it was necessary.
And so she drove you over that next day or two.
The next morning, yes. I flew in on September 8th. I got into Nashville about 12:30 in the afternoon, and I arrived here in Wynne the next day.
October 8th?
October 8th, yes.
Yeah.
And I arrived here October 9th, about 2 o'clock. So I spent the night, and we left about 10 o'clock because it's about a 4-hour drive.
Right. And so then something else interesting happens after you get here.
I got here and I checked in, and I still was unsure of everything, because it was just, my mind was still in all these different places. I hadn't gave myself time to completely clear my body of the alcohol, and the marijuana I was on and all of that. So the first day was great. I had a decent supper, and my appetite wasn't that great, but I just thought it was nerves. And before coming, I didn't say this, but the week before coming, or at least a few days before, I was having trouble eating, and just things were going wrong, but I just blamed it all on nerves of the change that was going to happen in my life. And didn't pay much mind. And then the next morning I woke up here in my room where I was staying at the Harbor House, and I couldn't walk again, and I couldn't, and I knew it was more than just a detox of alcohol, because I've been through detox before, and I knew what it was like. And I wasn't on any hard drugs. It was alcohol, which is still on its own difficult, but never where I couldn't walk or couldn't really have any strength. So the next day after that, the 9th, 10th, 11th, there was a doctor from our church that was willing to see me without my insurance and take me in and see me for free. And I went to the doctor's appointment and I seen him and they sent me home. And then before they could even go pick up the prescriptions that they had sent for me, they called the director of the program who was in charge of me at the time and told him that I needed to get to the emergency room immediately, that I was internally bleeding again and I only had 1/3 of my blood in my body.
Oh, wow.
Which explained my weakness and the way that I was unable to function. It explained all of the feelings I had before I got here.
Yeah.
And so I was, my first 6 days after that, really my first days of sobriety here, after I cleared up, was at St. Bernard's Hospital in Jonesboro. And they took wonderful care of me. Everything was good. I was questioning if they even were going to let me remain to stay at the harbor, coming in and going immediately to the hospital with the symptoms I had. But gracefully and to the grace of God, they kept me around. And, it's just been an amazing journey from there. But I mean, that's just kind of where my new life has started after that.
And so I met you not long after you got to win in October. And like I said, I already sort of knew who you were because of what Julie had said about you. But we got to know each other, got to be friends, and study God's Word together. And tell us about your time during this time that you fully surrendered to the Lord.
It wasn't just a one day, one moment time. I'm still in the process of surrender, Becky, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like that story is yet to be told all the way. I mean, I came in with a bleeding heart and an open heart, and there was a day in my room where I was still kind of unsure of people, and this is before I had met you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, I was having a bad day. I had I wouldn't say the best company at that time surrounding me. I had negative vibes. I'm not going to ever mention anything, but, it wasn't all positive. It wasn't all, so I went to my room one day and I just kind of cried out to God, why am I here? Why did you separate me from everything I know, all of my family, my aunts, my uncles, my wife, my son? Help me. What am I doing here? Please, just crying for help. And that's the day I would say that I surrendered and said, here I am. Do what you will with me. Not knowing what the reactions were. And then you say you met me shortly after. And I remember it was the second weekend, the second Monday of November, because that was the Friday. And we had done the Halloween thing in Village Creek. My time frame, I'm pretty, my memory is pretty well. And it was the second Monday, and there was a Friday where I cried out to the Lord. And I was sitting in my room because they have meetings on Monday, and so we usually figure out what's involved for the week and the day in front of us and the week in front of us after they have their staff meetings. But somebody came up to us and to me and my roommate at the time said, oh, there's a lady in the church who wants to talk to you guys. And I'm thinking, oh, no, because I didn't know or trust people, because in California, with the people I was surrounding myself with, they weren't very trustworthy.
Right.
I had a very awesome family, aunts and uncles who I trusted, who didn't truly know where I really was in life because I was good at hiding it. But out here, I had armor on. I was protecting myself from being hurt or being. And when I go sit down, it was you. And you showed a genuine, pure, true interest in us. And you asked, what do you need? What can I do to make this better? And I use that as God was showing me a sign that even though your family's not here, here's somebody who's out reaching out to you to try to be a part of your life. And you weren't intrusive. You were just very sincere and very genuine. And I'll always remember that day. And I'll always appreciate it.
Yes, I remember that too. We had some really good conversation that day. There was another lady there with me
Yes,
that,
Sonny.
yes,
And then somebody else
and
too.
Paula, yeah.
Yeah.
Paula was really wanting to meet you and the other resident, and I told her, I think she was a little reluctant, so I said, I'll go up there with you because I, had already met both of y'all before. But it was really a neat time of just really visiting, and obviously it made you comfortable because of that. And so then in December, something good happens.
In December?
Jeremiah comes to Arkansas.
Well, yeah, initially I flew him out to Nashville because I was getting a pass from the program where I was going to be able to spend the time with my mom and my stepfather and my little brother and just
Yeah.
be around family again because I had been absent from family.
And that
And it
was at
wasn't that long.
Christmas, right?
Yes, this was Christmas time. I left on the 22nd. But, God works in weird ways because I anticipated that he was going to go to Nashville, stay in Nashville. He was only going to be in Wynn to drop me off and pick me up with my mom. But then my aunt, who's the one who
Yes.
told me about the harbor, she at that same time needed somebody to house sitter for 2 weeks, and asked Jeremiah if he would do it. And that was of the change of his life as well, where he got to know the people here and got to see that what I was telling him was true about the sincerity and the kindness of
Right.
people. Because by December, I had let my guard down some because after getting to know you and getting to know other people, I realized that I had a certain amount of people I could trust that I knew were good people at this point.
Right.
And it wasn't as many as I have now, but it was slowly my people that I truly trusted in was growing fond of, was my numbers were growing, so Jeremiah was able to see that and he was able to see me. And this is something that I didn't even consider until after the fact, but being 21 years old, this was the first Christmas I had spent with him completely sober, where I didn't have marijuana and there was a Christmas before, but that's when I was really sick
Right.
from another thing that's
Right.
completely unrelated.
Right.
So I was on pain medication the whole time. So I don't consider that completely sober. So being 21 years old and spending the first sober Christmas with your dad, God, man, it just made me feel terrible. But it made me feel good that I was able to share that first holiday with him.
Yes. And that was, yes, a first time for him to be really around you sober because ever since he was born, you had been drinking.
And not like that, but I was always, I would say more or less, in between whatever I did. My go-to was marijuana. In California, marijuana was easy to access.
Yeah.
It was a weed legal state, basically.
Right.
And you could get it delivered like a pizza without having to have any kind of recommendations from doctors or anything.
Wow.
It was sometimes you could get it faster and easier than food.
Right. Wow.
So the access to it was easy. So I always used that as my crutch where I would say, okay, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to do this. But I always had something that I was dependent on. I was never able to put down all of my dependencies at once.
Right.
So this was the first time where I had no marijuana, no alcohol, no medication. And just as many people you hear, the medication is addictive as well. So when I got better, I still at times craved the feeling of the medication gave me. So
Right.
if my dad had extra or something, I would fake an ailment. Oh, my knee is really hurting, Dad. Can I have one of your pills?
Right. Yeah.
Just because I knew they were there and I knew if I asked the right questions, I could get one. So I had to realize, well, this is becoming something too. And thankfully, I didn't let that one get out of hand. But having an addictive personality, you got to be cautious of anything
Yeah.
that makes you feel different or makes you feel better and taking it, even if the doctor prescribes it to you.
Right. Was it in December that Jeremiah made a profession of faith?
Yes, it was on December 22nd.
And he was baptized that day, right?
Yes, it was awesome.
Yes, there's only been a few people that make that profession and are baptized the same day. But that was really neat to see that happen. And then just recently, you decided that you needed to be baptized.
One more time. I had to do it right.
You had to get your baptism on the right side of your salvation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I had to, because I felt like I did it and everybody will save you. When you're baptized, you're saved. But I knew in my heart that at the time I was baptized, I was not saved.
Yeah.
I was more saved here before I got baptized, but I just did that to confirm with Jesus that I'm here and I'm committed, and just to just lay it all down. And I felt like I did it the wrong way last time, so I wanted to do it right.
Yes.
And this will be the last time.
Right.
I'm not going to find a different church or move on if I was to have a setback in life, I'm not going to, every time something happens, get rebaptized. I know when I did it this time, it was from pure heart.
Yes, because that's something
And
that,
pure intentions. And I've heard people say I've been baptized 4 different places. And I just think, golly.
yeah, so God initiates that relationship with us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that he draws us to himself, and we surrender our life to him. We turn from our sin and we turn to him, and he saves us. And I think you've decided to make Arkansas your home.
Yes.
And now Jeremiah's here, and he's doing the same thing. He got a job not long after he got here, and he's got a good job, working hard. And
My wife's here. I told her if she wanted to come and join us in Arkansas to also seek help,
yes,
find the Lord, go to a program, and gratefully she just completed her program last Friday.
mm-hmm.
So she is doing wonderful, and it's amazing how one person's life-changing event could affect other people's lives in such an amazing way. Because if I
Yes,
hadn't had the courage to come out here, Becky, and say that I needed this help, I needed to change, I wouldn't have my wife or my son here. And my son was doing fine,
right.
but he was in a weed legal state where he was smoking a little too much weed,
Yeah,
and he was getting, I would say, lazy.
right.
Because the person he was working for, he could work and then say, they could get in a little argument. It was just nothing ever steady.
Right.
He had money when he needed it.
And he is a very responsible young man. I've never seen someone that age that is so giving, especially to you and to Vanessa. But, just he'll do anything you ask him to do. And
He'll do anything for you, Becky, too, if you ask him.
yes, I know.
That's just his nature.
Yes, he is very responsible and just a joy to be around. And so tell us about what you're doing right now. You are taking some steps in a way that you can be a leader in some recovery programs.
Well, my goal, and this is what I've set for myself, is that you know as well as I do, but the people out there don't. But where I'm at right now, there's only 3 men, and we're working on a building that's going to hold 10 men.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be the first one to successfully complete this program here at the harbor in its whole year entirety and do everything the right way.
Right.
So I want to be able to use this as a tool to help other men who come in like I was broken and just kind of lost. And I had given up hope when I got here, and now I have so much hope and so much joy. And, it's just the remarkable, if it could change me, if the Lord and the recovery and just everything
Mm-hmm.
can change me, I know it's possible for anybody, because I came basically to say I did it, I tried. Oh, well.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the results that were going to come from it.
Right.
I did it, I guess, just to tell myself, oh, well, you tried that and it didn't work out well, but at least you tried.
And on your own, you can't do it. Right.
No.
Who's got to do it?
Jesus.
Yeah, the Lord's got to do it. Just like we spoke about last night at a CR meeting, we can't modify our behavior. We have to have a new heart. And only Jesus can give us a new heart.
And you say that the Lord has to do it, but you have to do it as well, because you have to give in to the Lord, and you have to commit. You have to get into the Word.
That's right.
Because, I've heard people say so freely, oh, you can't do it without God, and God was, but it's not a give from Jesus. You gotta give. If you want to take what He has to offer, you have to give what He wants from Him, from yourself too. You got to put your time in, and I've started going to nursing homes and just sharing the Word, but more than sharing the Word, it's just sharing a moment with a person who doesn't have people around them, and just giving them somebody to talk to have an open arm and open ears to. And of course, Jesus is always incorporated in our conversations, but they like it more or less because a lot of those people, and I'm not saying those people, but the elderly are dropped off by their families and kind of forgotten. So we're going in and visiting and giving time to the forgotten people, and we're doing God's work here on earth, things like that. And there's things you can do that you wouldn't realize that I never would have expected. When I got called to do that, I almost thought of it as a chore, but now it's a pleasure. I look forward to going and visiting my friends there and just sharing moments with them and seeing how their week was. And it's just...
Yeah, and it brings them
tremendous joy.
Yes, it does.
And I try to, when I first came, I was trying to just be in the back of the room, go to the meetings I go to and doing everything. But now I'm vocally volunteering to do things that I would have never done, to speak on behalf of Jesus and the recovery programs, and to share what I've learned so far to other people struggling.
Right. And I do know that you are being used in some of those meetings, like Celebrate Recovery. Just as you go there and you're encouraging everyone else. And I think everyone else sort of looks at you like you're disabled, and probably think, wow, he's doing this. I can do this too. Maybe they're not, but...
That's always what they see first, though. They see that red and white cane, Becky.
Yeah.
So they see, somebody who's blind. Mm-hmm. They don't see that I'm just a regular human being who struggles just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like mentally disabled in any factor, or but they think, oh, how can a blind person get so far into addiction? But it was easier for me because I had so much downtime. I had no job to go to. I had nothing to count for my time. And really, as we discussed, and this is just, my addiction got worse when my son became a young man and didn't need his dad anymore, because that took away my time of being needed. And it gave me more downtime again, where I didn't have that time to, I got better stay sober because I got to pick up Jeremiah from school at this time. I got to do this. I got to go meet with his teachers. There was always something keeping me accountable. And when that went away, the alcohol, it took over more and more, because I didn't have to wait till a certain time. I could wake up and have a drink if I wanted, which was, I think it was filling the void of something that I wanted, of the being needed by myself.
Okay, well, this has been good. Is there anything else you want to share, or any way you want to encourage someone that might be maybe not even struggling with addiction, but just struggling, period?
I don't know. I just want to say that, everything's possible. You got to trust in the Lord, but you got to give to the Lord too. And just, if you feel like you're struggling, it may not be a program like mine. It might not be something, but there's resources out there. Reach out to somebody and try to find somebody in a similar circumstance to talk to, because a lot of times just the comfort of knowing somebody else is going through the same thing and just struggling in the same ways that you are will make it easier to deal with what you're going through. And just...
because everyone's struggling with something.
So find somebody to reach out to, maybe a pastor, maybe just a stranger at Walmart. You never know who's going to be that one that's going to be there to help you, but just make it known and just look for a resource. That's all I could suggest.
Yeah, and just like at these Celebrate Recovery meetings, you can really be encouraged by those that are in the same situation you're in, and you can encourage them, and they can encourage you.
It just makes you feel like you're not alone.
Yes.
You're not the only one, because there's a lot of times if you, like for me, I isolated myself a lot, right? I didn't know that there was so many other people out there with the same struggles I was going through.
Yeah.
So just to know that, man, it's not just me. I wasn't the only, I'd say, loser out there at that time, that there was several of us.
Yeah.
But just, there's always somebody to reach out to. So find somebody that you trust.
Yes.
And reach out to them. That's all the best advice I could give.
Yeah, because we don't want to spend, any of us, we don't want to spend that life in our sinful nature.
No.
We don't want to get stuck in that and not have salvation through Jesus.
Correct.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, thank you, Zach,
You're
for sharing
welcome.
your story.
Thank you for letting me share it. I had fun.
Zach's favorite Bible verse is 2 Corinthians 5:7. We live by faith, not by sight. Thank you for joining us today. Check out our website, thejourneytosalvation.com. You'll find additional information as well as a way to contact us.